In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about the big, huge, enormous Chicago Bears victory and then the collapse of our baseball teams. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The season is starting in just a few short weeks, so make sure you head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, my friend, how are you feeling after this huge Chicago Bears victory?
I don't know what to do with my hands. It's funny. As negative as we've been, and rightfully so, about the Bears, and knowing that this team's defense was going to be completely depleted, I actually thought that they were going to win today. I just had that feeling. Even with all the injuries on defense, I'm thinking, okay, they can't rush the passer. You know, they got rid of Micah Parsons. Their defense is terrible. Matt Eberflus is the head coach. You're at home, and the Cowboys, they make asses of themselves too. Now, I wasn't expecting the margin of victory that we saw today, because I thought that the Cowboys would put up more than 14 on our depleted defense. But I felt good about the Bears actually putting some points on the board, and they did. I'm also going to say this too is I, after last week, going into this game, I felt like this was the time for this new coaching staff to shine. Whereas in years past, you can get completely derailed by getting humiliated by a rival team, whether it's at home or on the road. But Sean, you know that Ben Johnson was livid, right?
Oh, yeah, he
He had to
was
be.
pissed.
Yeah. I thought that this was the time for the coach to say, you know what? We're not going to let that happen. And what we've wanted to see happen happened. That's probably my biggest takeaway.
To just talk about the good things because it's the first time in a while we've been able to talk about good things and Chicago Bears in the same sentence. Um, Caleb looked great.
Hmm.
Sure, there was a couple of errant throws, but he looked good. Um, for the most part, uh, the pass blocking held up. I thought the play calling for the most part was pretty good. Uh, and
Hmm.
the defense got a lot of takeaways. 4 takeaways.
And I'm going to say this too. Yeah, I'm going to say this. I thought the defense played as good as you possibly could have because let's face it, the Cowboys were moving the ball pretty easily early. But that big Tyreek Stevenson takeaway on their first drive really helped some of the momentum because the Bears got the ball. They go three and out. You think, oh my God, here we go again. And then it 2 plays, you know, Dallas gets a bunch of yards, and then in the second half, sure, they still moved the ball, but you got the big takeaways when it mattered. And they were going to move the ball. They were gashing you in very, very well early in this game. They were able to not only find holes, but they were able to just kind of bowl you over because even on like what you feel like should be 2, 3 yard plays, they were able to get an extra 3, 4, 5 yards on some of those runs just because they were out muscling you. And there were just situations where you didn't have the personnel to stop what they had. Now, CD Lamb going down in this game was very, very big, but really, you got to thank the offense because when the offense put those points on the board, that forced Dallas to throw. And that gets to one of my other points is you actually were able to get some pressure on Dak Prescott in the second half. And that was nice to see.
Tyreek Stevenson had himself a game, and it was needed because
Hmm.
we'll get to this a little deeper in a second, but Jalen Johnson was out. Uh, Kyler Gordon is still out, and you've got a hodgepodge in there. What going into training camp was going to be the strength of this defense is now a liability. And especially after Tyreek Stevenson last week had a terrible week. He came back and had a great game. And it started with that I don't even want that strip. That was great. I mean, that wasn't a peanut punch. That wasn't that was just him going up and saying, young man, that's mine, yoink, and stole his lunch money and just ripped it out of his hands. And that was a huge turning point because the Cowboys were driving. They were absolutely driving. And that just absolutely shifted the momentum the Chicago Bears way. And for, you know, the Bears defense did just enough to ward off the Cowboys. The Cowboys offense should have been way better. The Bears did enough to shift the momentum and they lucked out a little bit with CeeDee Lamb going down with an injury.
Yeah, and I'm even think about the first few drives that Dallas got on the board. They held them to fills. Like that was pretty big.
Yeah, so that was huge. So Tyreek Stevenson had a good day. The Bears got 4 takeaways. They held the Cowboys' high-powered offense to 14 points. Caleb Williams looked good. The play calling was good. You saw the bag of tricks start to come out. Um,
Hmm.
and so those are some really good things. And there's a lot of stuff to build on there. You finally saw some fruits of the work you've done. And I have a friend that's a diehard Cowboys fan, and we were texting this week back and forth, and we were like, this is going to be a high scoring game. Somebody's going to have to score over 30 points to win this game without a doubt. Um, didn't quite come to that, but the Bears did score over 30. The
Hmm.
Cowboys offense can move the ball. They can run the ball effectively. They can pass effectively. They've got a pretty good offensive line. It's that their defense is just decimated, and the Bears' defense is bad and decimated.
Right. Yeah, well, when you trade away Micah Parsons,
And
it does make a difference,
the
doesn't it?
Bears' defense did just enough, and it's a game of inches, and the Bears got those inches.
Hmm.
I mean,
No,
if Tyreek
absolutely.
Stevenson is like another inch over when he strips that ball, he's out of bounds, and it's Cowboys ball right there. And they very
Yep.
likely score on that drive. Um, that flea flicker, it's another inch higher. That could have been a fumble that's returned for a touchdown.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, it's there's just so many little things that went the Bears' way, and CeeDee Lamb doesn't get rolled up. Probably the offense is
Yeah.
a
Well, too,
little different.
remember the first pick by Edmonds when they were driving and trying to get back in the game, and you had that pretty ticky-tacky
Oh,
call.
that was
Was it on Tyreek
yeah.
Stevenson?
Oh, that was. I mean, even Tom Brady was like, "Ooh," he knew that was a bad call. He knew
There
that
were
was a bad call.
that was ticky-tacky. So ball didn't lie, and immediately they get that deflection, and it goes right to Tremaine Edmonds. And remember too, if you're talking about a game of inches, there was the throw by Caleb that bounced, and it fluttered in the air, and it was like a foot out of reach of the Cowboys defender. If that's just a little bit over, that's potentially a game-swinging pick.
Yep, yep, it's true. Um, yeah. So it was things went just enough the Bears' way, And it's funny because this was a blowout victory that could have very well gone the other way. That's just how
Yes.
the NFL works for the most part. Like there was nothing last week was, man, this is this is a blowout. And uh and then, but if you watch the game and you're like, up that bad penalty changes things. This play here changes things. It's just, you know, just a couple of little things can make a huge difference, like a big butterfly effect in this game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, think about it too, is that pick that I mentioned by Tremaine Edmonds, if they score a touchdown, that game is not over.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
that was a huge play.
honestly, think about it is at the end of the first half, the Bears were up 17-14, and
Hmm.
the Cowboys were getting the ball and they were moving the ball well up to that point. And
Hmm.
the momentum swing, and you're like, you know what? Because they could end the ball or the half with, scoring, and then they get the ball to start the second half. That very well could have been a 28-17 lead difference by the time the
Yeah.
Bears got the ball next. And it didn't happen that way because the Bears were able to get a stop, and and they scored. And Ben
Yeah.
Johnson did, I want to say this, is at the end of the first half, when that game was very, very much still in debate, he made sure that the Bears were going to finish the half with the ball. And he ran the ball and
Hmm.
he controlled the clock, and he waited until he hit a couple of plays and went, oh, hey, I think we can score. Now let's do some clock management. And I thought that was genius. There was some times in the first two games where I thought Ben got out coached. I thought that was a master class in clock management because he knew his defense was struggling. He did not want to give the Cowboys a 2-for-1. And he was not going to, after they got that stop, they were not going to let the Cowboys have an opportunity to score. And they were able to run the ball in that drive, ran the clock down. And then the Cowboys did the Bears a favor by calling a timeout and basically then used their third timeout. Bears had all three with like 30 seconds left to within the 20 to score. And so,
I was very surprised the Cowboys called that timeout. I'm like, wait a minute, you're giving us a free timeout and we have the ball.
yeah, I thought that was the Bears timeout based on because we didn't see who called it until they said it was the Cowboys. And I assumed when they called us, oh, it's got to be the Bears because, slowing that clock or slowing it down, you just got a big play. You've switched mindsets from playing to run out the clock to playing for a field goal to let's try to get the touchdown. And I thought, running up, trying to either run a play or spike the ball, if you've got timeouts, it doesn't make sense because why give up a down and why, uh, why run up there and, try to run a play because, then you're discombobulated. I was like, all right, use that timeout. And then the Cowboys did it. And I was like, all right, favor to the Bears. That, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you were talking about Ben Johnson, and I mentioned earlier about how it was his time to shine. And that goes beyond just the trickery plays. I mean, we talked about the run game and the lack of efficiency, but boy, do you remember that near 10-minute quarter drive?
oh,
How
where it
you
was
just
all runs.
getting, yep,
That was,
yep. And then it ended with a fourth down play.
yeah, he was not playing around. Um, and uh, that was a huge thing because it gave the defense a big rest. It took probably two drives away from the Cowboys, and you got a score out of it. Like that was a huge drive, and the Bears, in order to turn this ship around completely, they're gonna have to be able to do that on the regular. And
Hmm.
I want to shift a
Absolutely.
little bit into some of the criticisms. And I don't want to, be a negative Nancy because there's a lot of things that they still need to do better if they want to make this sustained. And my outlook on the Bears season brightened a little bit. I'm still really nervous because that defense is porous. Um,
Yeah. And Johnson's out.
yeah, so Ben Johnson, Jalen
Like
Johnson
he's not going to be a factor this season.
is having surgery, groin surgery, and he might be out for the season. We'll see. He might be out for the season. And I think how the Bears look at the end of the season is going to dictate a lot of that. Because if they're actually in a hunt for a playoff, I could see him trying to come back. But if they're just out of it and they're going to have a top 10 pick again, what's the point? Why risk it? Just
Right.
shut him down.
Right.
So I think some of the Bears' play is going to dictate how, if he returns or not. The two things I'm going to point to, well, I guess three, is TJ Edwards is going to come back some point. Kyler Gordon is going to return at some point, and uh, Austin Booker is going to return at some point. Austin Booker looked like a dude in the preseason, and my fingers are crossed
Hmm.
that he could look like a dude in the regular season. Because if he can play like that in the regular season, it is going to make life so much easier for the Bears. And because they need to be able to get to the quarterback to stop some of those drives.
Hmm.
Um, so those three things can drastically change the outlook of the Bears season. I think the offense, we're going to see continued improvement over the season, and probably by the time we come back from the bye week, we'll see that next level, and then by the end of the season, we're going to see not the final form, but we're going to see a a good a good look of what that final form is going to look like. It's how good are they compared to how bad the defense is, and if that defense can just hold up well enough, get get a few stops here and there, bend but don't break, get a couple turnovers, um, and the Bears not turn the ball over and put points on the board, they could be good enough to it's there's still a lot of ifs, a whole lot of ifs. And it starts with getting healthy. And another thing is that offensive line needs to gel because they are not good at running the football.
No, and I mean today that one drive where they were doing everything right and they were running the football, it's one of the things that I think is my biggest complaint. And we've talked about DeAndre Swift ad nauseum, but what drives me crazy is the short yard. Like it's 3rd and 2, and you're just trying to run up the gut to get the first down. That just seems like such a big challenge for this team for reasons. That needs to be better.
You is we see where DeAndre Swift is valuable and we see where DeAndre Swift is not valuable.
Hmm.
And he is not valuable between the tackles. And why are we seeing DJ Moore at running back? Why are we not seeing is Roshan Johnson? I mean, I saw him out there. He was playing special teams. Why is he not running as a running back? Why why isn't Monungai getting some of those carries? What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's so heavy with DeAndre Swift. And again, in the backfield, and they just give him straight gut up the middle. You always kind of cringe. Whereas today, where you saw the value of DeAndre Swift, that one big pass where Caleb was under pressure and he dumped off to him and he had that huge gain. That's where DeAndre Swift can thrive. But again, so much of this game is being able to ground and pound through the gut, up the middle. And like you said, Roshan Johnson, he might as well not be on this roster at this point. And I don't know how good guy really is going to be. I mean, he had that one run today where the effort was fabulous, but uh, you lost 8 yards because it would have just been better if you go down. But that's more of a smarts thing, not an effort, you know. So if he gets more chances, maybe will he be effective? I don't really know. But we haven't really seen enough of Kyle Monangai to give you a clear idea.
So, all right. So we had um one, two. So DeAndre Swift got 13 carries. Kyle Monangai got 6 carries. And DJ Moore got 3 carries. Would you like to guess what their yards per carry was with DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift,
Yeah, DeAndre Swift. How many yards per carry did he have from this game?
three and a half, three and a
Two and a
half,
half. 2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Kyle Monangai,
Like -5.
2.7.
That much?
DJ Moore,
Like under two?
2.3.
That high, huh?
They average at like 2.5 yards a carry for
Hmm.
the actual running back handoffs. 2.5 yards. That is not nearly good enough. Not nearly.
No.
Would you like to know what the two Cowboy running backs averaged?
Wasn't it like 8?
It ended up falling a little bit towards the end of the game, but Williams had 7.5 yards a carry on 10 carries, and Sanders had 4.6.
Okay, yeah, because I knew it was like around 8 to start, like in the first half or whatever. Because like
Yeah.
I was saying, he was just kind of bowling through you.
And the thing is every time there was contact, he would fall forward for a couple of extra yards. And that's the difference. That's a huge difference is when you fall
Uh-huh.
forward.
Uh-huh.
And DeAndre Swift, once that contact is made, he goes down. There's no forward momentum. And, you're starting to see, uh, you know, like who the good teams are. The Bills have a good running game. Uh, they're a good team. Um, let's see. Chargers 3-0. They have a good running game. Eagles,
Yeah, well,
good running game,
yeah.
undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Commanders are 2-1. You saw how their running game carried them with their injured quarterback. Packers, good running game, 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's that's what you're seeing. It's uh the running back is becoming important again.
Mm-hmm. It is. Which is why it's very, very frustrating that they didn't try to do more to help out this offseason. Even if the draft didn't align your way, there were other options out there to at least bulk it up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Chubb.
I know. I know. I wanted him.
uh so um Nick Chubb didn't have a great game today, but he's been the lead back. Like, I want to just quickly say a couple things about other teams that aren't the Bears. CJ Stroud has not looked good this season.
No, no, quite pedestrian.
I mean, today he looked downright brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the league anointed him way too soon.
I mean, he had a historic rookie.
He did, but think about who uh is what's his name that got drafted number 2 overall by Washington and ended up getting outplayed by Kirk Cousins. Um,
Penix.
no, no, no. When
Oh wait, no, sorry, sorry.
oh my God, what's his name?
Wait, which draft are you talking about?
When Cousins was drafted, it was the same draft as Cousins.
Okay. I just heard Cousins. You cut out there for a sec. I'm like, wait, Penix, who was also
No,
not
no,
good
no.
today?
When um oh my God, what's his name? He was the number 2 overall pick, and then Cousins was like the 5th round pick that same year.
Oh, what year was that?
Um, it was
Because like Kirk Cousins has been in the league a long time.
yeah. We're both gonna be sounds stupid. RG3. RG3 started off with an amazing early part of his career. He looked amazing,
Oh, you're
and
talking
then
about 2012. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
RG3 looked great, and then just his career just really sputtered. And so it's
Hmm.
you can't judge somebody on an early part of their career. When Caleb Williams was drafted, and there was a couple people that started saying, well, maybe the Bears should draft Jaden Daniels instead of Caleb Williams. And watching the tape, I was like, Jaden Daniels looks really good. The talent wise, he looks phenomenal, but I don't know if his body's going to be able to hold up to a long NFL career. And that was my concern. If you draft a guy number 1, you want him to have a long career with you. And last year he stayed healthy, and now he's hurt. And
Hmm.
you're like, is that the chink in the armor? Knock on wood, Caleb has been healthy. Caleb has stayed healthy and hasn't taken, and even
Oh,
with the sacks,
Sean.
I knocked on wood. I
Oh,
knocked on it. I knocked on the wood.
it doesn't
I'm
matter. You don't matter when you do that. You are the king of the jinx.
Caleb Williams is going to go down and get super injured. No, so I was worried about Jaden Daniels. That wasn't the talent at all. Like he just like the guy has got a great arm. He's super athletic, and you're like, oh man, it's my fear is does he hold up? And so going into it, you're like, okay, those are the clear 2 best quarterbacks in an amazing quarterback draft. There was so many quarterbacks I scouted really high in that draft, and they're playing well. Um, But I was like, the difference for me is that Jaden Daniels, he just doesn't have a frame that looks like it can sustain an NFL hit, and he got hurt. Um, the other thing I want to talk about just quickly, it's not Bears related, is the Indianapolis Colts, who some people said would be vying for the number 1 overall pick. Correct?
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
3-0 now. Do you know how many times they've punted so far in 3 games?
Isn't it once or twice?
Once.
Once.
Today
Yeah.
was today was their first punt. They
Yeah.
did not punt their first 2 games, and they are now 3-0. That team with Indiana
Yeah.
Jones, they are looking good, and I don't know if they're a contender or pretender. It's still really early, but right now that's got to be a fun time to be a Colts fan.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I really, really did not expect that. And I was thinking, okay, maybe Danny Dimes plays respectable there, better than we expect. I didn't expect this good. I thought that maybe considering the fact that he's been around, the fact that maybe he goes to a system where he plays well in, that he can give you something. And again, there's a long way to go, but like I said, I didn't expect it to be quite this level of good so far. And I'm curious to see how it keeps progressing because we've seen in recent years some of these quarterbacks just rejuvenate their careers in other places. I mean, Baker Mayfield was obviously a big prospect when he came into the league. But, his time in Cleveland, despite ups and downs, there was questions on what his ceiling is. Now Baker Mayfield is in the conversations among the very like, and it is elite level stuff. So sometimes with these veteran quarterbacks, you never know.
The thing with Baker is, could he put it together? It's Baker reminds me a whole lot of Caleb Williams.
Hmm.
A whole lot. Like pretty darn athletic, but not not one of those, not a dual threat running quarterback, but will definitely uh take one run it and sneakily, pick up 15 yards and get a long first down. He's got a strong arm and could just never put it together. And it was one of those things where like, do we want to pay him? Do we not want to pay him? And they got rid of him in Cleveland. He goes to uh uh you know to play for a coach as a backup, and you're like, okay, now he learned some things that just didn't get, instilled in him in Cleveland. Goes to a team where he gets a fresh start and he's playing great football. Just everything clicked. Just took a little bit longer than you expected with a number one overall pick. He just looks really good. And I think Cleveland did him a disservice by not surrounding
Which
him
is
with
no
the
surprise.
right people, the right coaches. And but then they did him right by letting him go. Um so uh
Yeah, he wasn't going to gel.
oh yeah, they did him a solid by letting him go. Um so, he went after Cleveland, went to Carolina, then to the Rams, and the Rams I think was a huge turning point for him. I think being with McVay, he figured things out. And my hope is that Caleb figures those things out now with Ben Johnson without having to go through all that, what he did, Baker did in Cleveland. Is that Caleb gets his McVay moment early in his career. And it's, who knows what's going to happen when it's all said and done. But every week, Caleb is getting better. Every week.
Yeah, and we can identify areas where there are some, struggles still. Like you said earlier, there were some throws that he missed. I mean, the first throw of the game, he overshot Loveland on the throw, and there were a few others that he'd like to have back, but he didn't turn over the ball and got the big plays downfield. That's what we've been wanting to see. Obviously, the flea flicker was a deep throw. The first throw to Adunze down the sideline that went for a touchdown, that was another deep pass. And
That
we
flea flicker, did you hear Caleb talk about that after the game, where he said all week in practice he kept underthrowing Luther Burden, and he told him during the game, he's like, "Go all out. I'm not going to underthrow it in the game," and it was a absolute dime. Like that was a perfect throw. That
was
flea flicker,
perfect.
man. DeAndre Swift only almost screwed that up, but it. As I'm watching that, I was like, and when they first pitched the way Caleb pitched it to Swift, I was like, that's weird. That was a weird toss. And then he stopped. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a flea flicker. And he throws it backwards. Oh no, no. And then he hit Burden on a dime. And I I think you are going to slowly start to see Luther Burden replace DJ Moore in this offense.
Well, we wanted to see the kids, and we saw, unfortunately, Loveland went out with the injury, but his first big completion day for Caleb was to Loveland, which was more than we in the first 2 weeks. And then obviously the flea flicker to Luther Burden, and he threw another real nice dart to Luther Burden later in the game to set up another touchdown that was down the middle. But seeing them get involved was really awesome because we had wanted to see it, and I think the coaches understood that we needed to see it. And overall, you could say, hey, one of the best things about today's game is that you spread the wealth around. 4 touchdowns for Caleb Williams were all. of different people. You got Cole Kmet involved. You finally got DJ Moore involved, which you've wanted to see for the first few weeks. Obviously, you had Roma Dunze and then Luther Burden. So the fact that they were able to spread that wealth around was really, really nice to see because we've seen the Caleb and Rome connection work very well, but we've been wanting to see it with DJ Moore. We've been wanting to see Luther Burden get in there. We want to see more from our tight ends, and you saw all of that today.
We should have seen a second touchdown from Roma Dunze.
We should have, yeah. That ball was wobbly, but look,
He
I mean, if
he's
you
got
look
to
at the
catch it.
numbers, yeah, if you look at the numbers, Roma Dunze's off to a really good start, but there are still some balls that he doesn't get to where you're like, man, a top 10 draft pick has to get that. As
Oh
good
yeah,
as he's overall been, there's still a few drops where you go, you were a ninth overall pick. You got to come down with that.
especially when you're watching Tampa Bay and Amika Abuka make these absolutely awesome catches, and you're like, man, that's what we want Rome Odunze to be. And I'm not shitting on him because Rome has been good. I want to see Rome be great. He's Chicago good.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
so uh, Rome right now is currently, according to ESPN, on pace for over 1,400 yards and 26 touchdowns. That's really
Are
good.
we finally going to see it? I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. Nope. I'm not saying it. I shouldn't say it. I'll knock on
that's
wood anyway.
that's a lot. That's a lot of yards. I don't think we will see that. But man, it would be nice. And, I mean, and it's not. I mean, last year, he had himself a nice year for a rookie and a bad offense. So it was just really quiet. I think, we're gonna see more from him, but I just need him to make those contested catches. Like just make those. Like he's not losing 50-50 balls, but he's not coming down with those. And I want that. I want them like I want that ODB or OBJ, sorry, not old dirty bastard, Odell Beckham Jr. Uh I want, that one-handed catch. That's what I want. I want this one catch where you're just like, man, that's a dude right there. That's a dog.
hmm The
And
plays that you see a healthy CeeDee Lamb make or, Justin
Mike
Jefferson,
Evans.
like you said, in prime Odell. Yep, Mike Evans.
And now we're seeing a
Cooper
Mecca
Kupp in his
Abuka.
prime.
Yeah, we're seeing a Mecca Abuka making those plays. Puka Nakua making those plays. Like
Puka
that's what I
Nacua,
want to
yeah.
see. I want to see Rome, and I want to see that dog come out of him because he's talented. He's getting open. He's making plays. But I want to see him come down with it where there's a 50-50 ball and he says, "No, it's an 80-20 ball. Mine." I want him to be Debo from the movie Friday. He's like, "That's my ball. That's my ball."
Yeah. Yes. Yes, exactly. And that's what you drafted him to be. And again, I mean, he's on pace to have statistically a really good season. He's probably, as long as he's healthy, he's probably going to be the leader in touchdowns, I would assume, in terms of wide receiving catches for touchdowns.
I still say though that Luther Burden is going to become a bigger focus in this offense because when you block, you get the rock. And Luther Burden is playing with a chip on his shoulder. And he's a dude. When they drafted him, I was really sad that they didn't get one of the running backs. But when they drafted him, they went back and they drafted him. I was like, all right, I'm not sad about this. I'm not sad about this at all. So it's he's gonna start becoming a bigger focus. And I've heard rumblings that the Bears could trade a DJ Moore.
I don't think that's going to happen. You realize what a huge dead cap hit that would be?
Let's take a look at what happens there.
It's it's a big hit.
Uh, teams. Oh, teams. Chicago Bears. Um, Calculator. Come on. I hate there's so many pop-ups on over the cap. Um, DJ Moore. If they were to trade him, um, let's see. This year they currently have $9.5 million of cap space. They have their 5 million in the hole next year, and then 53 million in cap for 2027. If they were to trade DJ Moore right now, they would be at $30 million of cap right now and 11 million next year. So it's actually a huge savings for the Bears.
But when I looked at Spot Track, they had the dead cap was pretty high.
I'm going by the calculator and over the cap. So
Does
I don't
that
know.
does that account for dead cap though?
So Spot Track steals a lot of their stuff from over the cap. Um, so da, da, da.
Because when I'm on Spot Track, here's what I see: 2025, the cap hit is $24.9 million. Dead cap is $60 million.
Yeah, but then you can spread that. So over
I
two
mean, I know you can
years.
maneuver it a little bit, but I don't see it happening. Maybe things change, but right now I don't see it happening.
I don't think so either, but you know, if you can if you're like, hey, I see Luther Burden becoming a huge focus here. We're not winning right now. We can use that huge amount of cap that DJ is getting, and if we get huge return, I don't know, man. It might be worth it. It's who knows how these things play out though. Yeah, it's just that would be crazy huge if that happened. I would be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even counting on it right now. I mean, we'll see what happens over the next few weeks, few months, or whatever. But right now, I don't think it's even a thought.
We shall see. I'm not putting it in the 0% category. I'm probably gonna say 20%. I think it's on the far stretch of within the realistic realm.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Things have happened in the NFL. Things always do happen.
Uh, so the trade deadline this year is the Tuesday after week 9. So what is the date on that? NFL scores. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, so we got a ways to go, obviously. And there's going to be some interesting things to monitor, in the meantime, because with the Bears being as depleted as they are defensively, knowing that you're probably not getting your cornerback, your number one guy back, is are there trade possibilities for the Bears depending on where they are in the standings? I mean, even if they're in the hunt, but they're not in the hunt, they're kind of on that fringe. Do you try to pick up something and give yourself a chance? I don't know. It's going to have to depend on how these next few weeks go.
November 4th is the trade deadline.
Yeah, so you have a little over a month. You have a bye week, but you still have a decent amount of games before then. So how you play over these next 4 or 5 games can determine really a lot of what you're going to do. Are you tempted to make a trade of somebody on your team that you feel like isn't going to be part of the future? Are you going to try to bulk up somewhere, whether that's defense or line or wherever? Those are the questions that are going to be really, really interesting here because I don't think this team is going to the playoffs. I'm not doing a 180 on this season, but are you at least going to be competitive enough where to help your team further develop some more reinforcement? These are just the questions you ask out loud.
Yeah, it's I want to see the offense take these steps. So I know most people will say by the end of the season, successful season means I know Caleb is the dude. And I'm going to go one step further than that. I want to see this offense uh regularly show that it's a well-oiled machine. And you're going to have gaffes here and there, but that's what I want to see is I want to see these statement drives and the ability to put up points on the regular basis. We know the defense is going to be a problem all year, and that's going to make it hard, especially when you're playing, like a Packers or a Ravens. Um, like I don't even know what they're going to do against the Ravens. Like, how do you plan to stop the run?
Ugh,
But
I,
uh,
I know we
that's
got to
that's for
think
another
about
day.
that. Ugh,
Yeah, we got a while to think about
yeah.
that. I want to see, this the plan, and I want to see the offense look like, all right, we've solved this problem. Now, how do we fix the defense? And I'm less concerned about that. It's still a concern, but we brought a guy in to develop a quarterback and get this offense into the 21st century. We can fix the defense later. And that's what
Yeah,
I want to
right. I mean,
see.
that's you're right. No, I mean, we've said it for years is if we're able to win games, but we're not there as a contender yet versus winning 13-9, then yeah, I think we feel a little bit better. Obviously, the way the defense plays is still important, but the obviously the highlight of the game today because of how you were able to score early. You were able to get big chunks on those drives. You saw Caleb Williams be able to make the big plays, and you were able to put the opposing team in a hole. So I feel like as we go forward, that we're going to be focusing so much more on the little things on the offense, whereas the defense kind of is what it is, unfortunately. When you're that banged up, although it would be nice to have Kyler Gordon and Edwards back. I feel
And
like we're
Austin
not hearing
Booker.
as much about and Austin Booker, yes. You need to stop the run.
Yes, that's going to be huge. Um, my goal though is, here's how the offense can help the defense. If you continue to have drive, if you can establish the run and you can set up those drives where you could hold the ball for 9 minutes, that helps the defense. Less possessions for the other team, and your defense gets fresher. And if you can start putting up 30 plus points a game consistently, at some point, especially if you can score those early, you take the run game away. So if you are running long drives and you're scoring touchdowns, and if you especially, you get up 14 nothing, 21 nothing, the opponent teams, the opponent offenses are gonna stop running the ball as much because they're trying to play catch up. And that's where you're gonna, you'll be able to pin your ears back and try to get those pressures. And that's what we saw today is the Bears defensive line started getting home a little bit because they were not, it's not that the Cowboys kept running, which was surprising a little bit. But it didn't matter. If you were giving up 7 yards a carry, they were still doing you a favor by running the ball because that clock is not stopping.
Hmm.
So I think the Bears just stopped caring about it and started being able to pin their ears back, and that's when they were starting to get a little more pressure. If you can do that earlier in the game by, coming out in your opening drive, scoring a touchdown, getting a stop, going out, scoring a touchdown, the pressure starts to mount. And good teams, you'll see that their defense gets bolstered because they're like, oh, hey, we're winning. Let's pin the ears back because now that our offense has a lead, we can take bigger risks. We can pin our ears back and we can try to get to the quarterback. Um, that's what we're seeing. That's a huge win. It masks good quarterback play and good offensive ability will mask a bad defense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I mentioned earlier, like you just mentioned, it was nice to see them getting home in the second half. You saw several sacks, and you saw Montez Sweat finally do something. And Dominique Robinson had a sack for the first time in a long ass time. You forget he's even part of that equation. And speaking of sacks, the Bears defense had several. How many sacks did we give up today? None. Caleb Williams, for the first time in his NFL career, didn't get sacked once.
I do want to talk about Grady Jarrett. There was a play where he got a 15 yarder for hitting the quarterback below the knee.
Mm-hmm.
That was a penalty. I get it, but he was held. He was held before that. He ran over the guy. The guy grabbed, first he kicked him in the crotch, and then tried to pull him down. That should have been a holding. It should have been offsetting penalties. That was infuriating. I was so mad. I was like, you can't try to pull the guy down with you. And that was part of the reason that there was a penalty uh, is Grady Jarrett went down with the guy, got pulled down, and then tried to just lunge forward to get the sack and couldn't raise up to get above the knee. That was
Yeah, no,
frustrating.
yes, 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 it was. But again, what happened shortly after?
Interception in the end zone. Ball don't lie.
Ball don't lie. Exactly. Two really ticky-tacky calls slash missed calls on the Bears defense, and that was really all.
I know that this is in a 17-week season where like extrapolating from this point is silly, but I'm only doing it just because we've never seen this at the end of a season. Would you like to know what Caleb Williams' stats are based on the first 3 games if you extrapolate those across the full season?
Sure.
4,052 yards, 40 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
Hmm. That'd be the best season in Bears history by a quarterback.
By a mile.
By a long shot.
He would I would go retire his number. I would say, give Bronco Nagurski's number back and retire Caleb Williams' number at that point.
Give Bronco Nagurski's number back. Sorry, Bronco.
Sorry, dead guy. Your number's not retired anymore.
What?
I'm unretiring it.
The ghost of Bronco Nagurski haunts Soldier Field.
Uh, so that takes us then to next week. We've got the Raiders. Uh, the Raiders are playing better than they have the last couple of years. They look competitive. I don't think they're good. They look competitive though. Uh,
They're beatable, but it's not going to be a gimme by any means.
oh yeah, I mean right now the Saints are probably the
Especially
only
with Ashton Genty and the way that's going to be tricky.
yeah. So the Raiders the Raiders are not a bad team. Um, let's see. Where's the scores from today? I think they lost today, but um, they got beat by a good Washington team. Uh, but Geno Smith had a good game. 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Um, Ashton Genty didn't look great. He had 63 yards, but only 3.7 yards per carry. The Raiders defense isn't very good. I think it's going to be a similar type game to this one where you're going to have to just score a bunch of points. Commanders did that. Um, the Commanders the Commanders had one running back who averaged 19.5 yards today.
Mm,
And they won with Marcus Mariota at quarterback throwing for 200 yards. They scored 41 points. So that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to just shock and awe again. Come out there and beat their ass and with your offense and make it easier on your defense. Take the ball out of their hands on long drives. Don't let them establish the run because if they can get Ashton Genty going, then that's going to be a tough day for you because I think Geno Smith is still a good quarterback, but you you've you gotta put him in a position where they're just throwing the football. And that's kind of what
right.
happened today is
Well, yeah,
A-
exactly.
Ashton Genty had 17 carries. Um, Geno Smith threw 29 times. Like that's a not a good ratio. They did score 24 points, but you've got to uh, you've got to be able to just you know set the tempo and dictate what they do based on the positions you're putting them in.
Hmm. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And I mean, one of the things that we saw earlier in this game when the Cowboys are moving the ball was they everywhere on they were running the outside, they were running up the middle, and the results were all the same. And Ashton Genty can do pretty much everything on the ground. So you're going to have to come out with the same conviction again because, in my opinion, Geno Smith can execute when he can execute, and he's definitely not a pushover, but he is beatable. But if you have your run game going against you and you're not keeping the pace, that's going to be a big issue. And I think even today, when CD Lamb went out, yes, it was a big loss for the Cowboys. But the fact that you still had to throw the ball and can't run it when you're down multiple scores, even if you have CeeDee Lamb, the way they were dialing up the pressure still made it harder on the Cowboys to execute with him or not because you were in that hole. So I want to see a similar game plan where you're able to get the big chunk plays, move the ball down the field, get on the board early, and don't settle for field goals. Go for touchdowns. I love the fact today they were like, what? Even if we kick, it's still a two-score game regardless. So, boom, we're going to go after it and we're going to get that touchdown. And they did. So, play with that same aggressiveness because you can't really afford to fall behind too much when you have a team that can run the ball at you because offensive line is not very good in Vegas. But you have a defensive line that is banged up and has some major holes. So, they can exploit that.
Yep, true. Should we talk a little baseball here?
Sure.
Man, the Cubs shit the bed.
You
Is
know,
is
it's
that a
funny.
good
A few days
is
ago,
that a good way to
we would
say
have
it?
been talking. I mean, it was very disappointing weekend. It was very, very disappointing. And I mean, just a few days ago, we were celebrating a clinch. Like they clinched the postseason. They were spraying champagne and partying, and all was well in Cubland. I I knew the Reds would not expect to get swept games. Now, if the Cubs end up still as the number one wild card seed, then it's really no loss to the Cubs. You did let the Reds into the postseason, but whatever. If you were to see the Reds in the postseason, it would probably be in the NLCS, but you got to get there first. But yeah, I mean, the offense disappeared. You gave up a ton of home runs, and just not a lot went right for you. I do want to talk about clinching in the celebration, but yeah, this was not a good weekend for the Cubs when you are still playing for that number one wild card.
Yeah, I'm not worried about having to see the Reds because, um, like I said, is you would you would have to see them in the NLCS. I think that's no matter what, that would be the only place you could see them because the way it's looking right now, they will be playing the Dodgers and then go on to play Philadelphia if they win, and then they'd be in the NLCS. To go through the Dodgers and Philadelphia would be a gauntlet. And even if the Brewers and Phillies flip flop, going through the Dodgers and the Brewers is still a pretty big gauntlet. That's a tough
Oh yeah, it
road.
is.
Especially you'd be on the road. Like you would be what, five games on the road before you had a home game?
Yeah, no, that would definitely be a tough task. I will say though that if you were to face the Reds in a short series, with that rotation they have, that rotation can give you a shot to win. It would be hard to win a 7 game series, but in like a 3 game wild card series, that can give you a shot. Now, again, I'm not saying the Reds are going to go to the NLCS, but if they do get in with that pitching staff, I think they do have a solid shot in the first round.
I mean, they would be playing all three games in Los Angeles. Um,
The Dodgers, they for as good as they are, they've looked. But then again, to be
they're
fair, I
50
think the
they're
Dodgers are kind of
52 they're 52 and 29 at home.
yeah. I know.
The Reds are 36 and 42 on the road. That's not a good
No, I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm just saying it gives you a chance. But
um
again, we have to see what the final matchups are before we even officially go there. There is
yeah.
still a week left.
Yeah. Why it's important for I mean, the Dodgers are I mean the Padres are a good home team and they're sub good uh road team. They have a losing
Which is
record.
why you need to
Yes.
clinch that first spot.
And I mean, even though the Cubs have been shit in the bed, it's it's still looking good. There's what, six games left and they got a 3 game lead. Um that's
We've seen 3 game leads
oh
evaporate pretty
I'm
quickly.
listen, I'm it's evaporated from like a 6 game lead here. But um the Padres have 3 against the Brewers and then 3 against Arizona. That's that's a tough 6 games there.
The Mets are spiraling. You got to take
Yeah.
advantage.
We've got to take advantage of 3 against the Mets and then 3 against St. Louis, who again, they're having a rough season. And they've, what have they lost a couple in a row till today? Um, they're pretty
Hmm.
much out of it. I don't think they're mathematically eliminated, but I think they're essentially eliminated. Arizona is a game out of the wild card. So they've got a lot to play
Hmm.
for.
They
So
do.
odds are, I mean, if you're a betting man, obviously you bet on the Cubs holding on to that number one wild card seed, but anything's possible.
Yeah.
And then you look at what's wild here is, do you know what the run differential is for the Padres this year?
What is it?
Plus 60. Do you know what the Cubs is?
Hmm.
Plus 125.
Hmm.
Uh, Only one team in the American League has a higher run differential than the Cubs, and only 2 teams in the National League have a better one, and one of them's by 1 run. I don't think the Cubs are catching number 1 or 2, but the Cubs very well could be third in baseball in run differential when this is all said and done. And they're almost assuredly going to be top 5.
It's been such a weird season because so much of the second half has been just kind of a coast job. And we saw it in this series against the Reds where they really just struggled to score runs and your big bats were just silent. But you still won enough games where you're in the position where you are. And obviously the first few months your run was off the charts. So I mean, yeah, it's been an interesting season where there are times you feel like things are worse than they actually are. I mean, we clinched a playoff spot last Wednesday with 2 weeks basically to go in the season. It's not like they were going down to the wire to even clinch a spot. They might be going down to the wire to home field, but they've already clinched a spot. And you did it by taking care of business against a bad Pirates team, and you went and swept them and you celebrated at PNC Park.
It's true. It's true. Um, but yeah, so there is a lot still to do with this team, and this 4 game series loss to the Reds. In the grand scheme of things, will it change anything? No. Does it does it show you how far away the Cubs are from like being a super competitive team, like for a World Series? Kind of. That offense just woof. Losing 2 games 1-0 is brutal.
That's just awful. The first game, Hunter Green was just great. I think you could just tip your cap there, right?
Yeah.
That
Um,
one was whatever. Today, that was inexcusable.
yeah, it just needs to be better. They need to be better. And for the first half of the season, man, the Cubs had so many hitters that were just doing awesome. And now really it's just Michael Bush. Like you've got a bunch of
Well,
average, slightly above average hitters.
I put Nico Horner. Nico Horner's been great.
Okay, Nico and Bush. Everybody else is kind of pedestrian.
Hap has been pretty good, but he's had a rough few games. Overall, Hap has been producing, but it's like PCA has struggled. Say what the hell happened to him? Talk about falling off a cliff, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's
That's one of your
frustrating.
most important hitters right there.
Needs to be better. Needs to be better. Need him to be better. Um, so I don't know what else happens here.
Well,
Uh,
one more thing I think we do have to address that is pretty. I'm not so sure Kyle Tucker is going to be ready.
I don't think he is. I think he's out.
Every time you hear Craig Counsell, oh, he'll be fine in a few days. Well, we're giving him a few more days. Well, it's not progressing the way we thought we would. Well, he's going to be go seeing a specialist down in Tampa. Well, we think he's going to be back for the final week. Well, if he comes back, he used the word if today. Like, it's like, okay, this is not encouraging.
Nope, it is not. And I don't think you win without Kyle Tucker playing good baseball.
Healthy Kyle Tucker makes all the difference.
I agree with you. I think that's the X factor there.
I mean, even remember before he got hurt this last time, when he was starting to get healthier again and he was starting to slug again.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that a
Yep.
few weeks ago? Remember the game he got hurt? He had a big 3-run homer. That is a huge difference in having him. Now, give a lot of credit because Moises Ballesteros has come up and looked really good at the plate so far, but he's still a kid. And you're also going to be relying on Seiya finding his form again, Pico Armstrong finding his, and obviously Nico to keep doing what he's doing, Bush to keep doing what he's doing. Dansby's been doing solid. Ian Happ's been doing solid, but you need a lot of this to work. You don't have margin for error in the season.
Can I tell you something that's probably going to be annoying? Cody
What
Bellinger,
else is new?
Cody Bellinger, and Kyle Tucker have the same F war.
Well, if Kyle Tucker was healthy, that wouldn't be the case. And
That's true.
Cody Bellinger's a good player. He's a really good player, and he fits well with that short porch at Yankee Stadium. I just think that a healthy Kyle Tucker would be well ahead of him. And I like Cody Bellinger. I'll always like Cody Bellinger.
Signing Cody Bellinger to that prove it deal was a huge right move for the Cubs.
Yes, it was. I think they handled it right.
It's just one of those things that's annoying. And you're right. Kyle Tucker, had he been healthy, would have been far ahead. It's just, boy, man. I think we're out. I think, you know, we might cobble a series win against the Padres. And that would be huge. With the way this offense has struggled, to win a playoff series would be really big. I can't see us beating the Brewers.
That would be tough. Although the Brewers are starting to get their fair share of injuries. Postseason is weird, but I don't even want to think about that. You got to think about the first round first before you even get there. And we'll see how these last few games go.
Yep. And Milwaukee's got a 3-game lead on Philadelphia for that number 1 seed. Um, so I mean, again, it's not until it's done. It's so there's Milwaukee's what I got what does that make a 4-game or a for magic number, and the Cubs have a 4 magic number to win the wild card number 1 seed. But it's looking
I
and
believe it. I believe so. Yeah.
yeah, and Philadelphia has 4-game lead on the Dodgers. So it's 3-game, 4-game. I think that, and Milwaukee has already won the division. So uh, the only real question mark now is who are the Dodgers going to play? Is it going to be Cincinnati? Is it going to be the Mets, or is it going to be Arizona?
Yeah. That's the big determining thing in the National League. Unlike the American League where it's all over the place, all of a sudden Cleveland, who is 15 and a half back, is knocking on the door, which is insane.
Oh, I know. That has been crazy. Absolutely crazy. I love it. I love seeing it. I love seeing when there's just like somebody that just comes streaking back, as long as it's not in the National League. Um,
Right.
yeah, so the Guardians right in that playoff hunt. Uh, and what's crazy is the Tigers once had the best record in baseball. And do you know what their probability is to make the playoffs?
What is it?
81%. At one point, they were 99%. They're down to
Yeah, they
81.
were the highest odds in baseball.
Um, because
That's
they,
crazy.
yeah, because I mean, you look at it and there's got to be 3 wild cards, and the Yankees are right there. Um, and then the Tigers and Guardians are essentially 1 game apart in there. Um, the your half game Tigers are a half game up on the Astros if they were to make the wild card right now, and they're behind the Red Sox. So, yeah, there's it is not in stone yet for the Tigers, which is crazy to if you would have said that a month ago.
I know. That's how crazy baseball can be, truly. 162 games is a marathon, not a sprint.
And would you like to know what the Mets uh, probability is to make the playoffs right now?
Is it below 50?
It is
Or is it
51.6.
like 60?
It's 50,
51.6. So it's a coin flip, basically.
it's a slightly better than a coin flip. The Reds at 42.2. The Diamondbacks 5.9, the Giants 0.2%.
Yeah, the Giants are done.
Pretty much, yeah. And the Diamondbacks, I just need them to hang around long enough to put up a fight against the Padres for the Cubs' sake.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So it's just Cleveland right now is a half game out of the wild card. And do you know what their run differential is for the season?
Cleveland's?
Yes.
What is it?
-9.
Nah. I figured it
They
was somewhere around even.
they are possibly going to make the playoffs with a negative run differential.
I feel
That's
like they're kind of
hilarious.
the I feel like they're the AL Brewers. They got that devil magic, man.
Yep. But that's I mean, right now that's the race there is Texas is out. They're 5.5 games out of the wild card, but Cleveland is a half game out. And so it's right now Boston is 1 game up on Houston, who has the third wild card, and then Cleveland's a half game out. So there's a game and a half differential there. And then in just the division standings is De- Detroit's only up by 1 game, and they're 1-9 with a 6 game losing streak, and Cleveland's 9-1 in their last 10.
Yeah, that's insane. And you look at Cleveland's lineup, you're like, okay, Jose Ramirez, Stephen Kwan, they're really, really good. They almost traded Stephen Kwan. And then you look at the rest, and you're like, how the hell are they here again?
Yep, crazy, crazy. Only one team in the American League has
Hey, you want to
clinched a
hear another
playoff.
crazy stat real quick?
Sure.
Is it the Blue Jays?
Yes, they're the only team that's clinched a playoff spot in the American League. In the National League, all three, or sorry, there's one, two, three, four teams that have clinched, and two teams have already clinched their division. And the Dodgers are about to clinch their division.
Baseball, man. And, and here's the thing too, is if the Mets and the Tigers both miss the postseason, those are the two teams that went on miracle runs last year. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't the Tigers like sub 500 going into August last year?
I believe so.
So you went from having one of the greatest comebacks of all time to potentially, if you don't make it, one of the greatest collapses of all time.
Yep.
Funny how that works.
Funny indeed. So what was your stat? Curious.
Oh, yeah. So this is just Bears related. I just saw it come up on my phone. It was 350 days since the last win at Soldier Field. It was almost a year, a full year.
Jesus, that's insane. That's insane. Not to loop back to the Bears too much, but I loved that Ben Johnson didn't smile once. I don't think during this game.
No, 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 he did not. You should look at the frickin' you should look at the game photos of Ben Johnson. It looks like eh, passing a kidney stone.
I just think it's hilarious that Matt Eberflus, they were talking about it before the game, and he's just like, they were like quoting him, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I know this team. I know their weaknesses. I know how to beat them. And they just whipped your ass. Their offense whipped your defense's ass. And I was like, oof, man, you should have just shut up, Flusy. Should have just shut up. And
Hmm.
all I can picture is Ben Johnson being there. And I took that personally.
And I took it personally.
Oh man, passing a kidney stone. That is that. No, no, anytime somebody talks about passing a kidney stone, that's all I'm gonna picture is just Ben Johnson's face.
Did you just see the picture that I'm referring to?
Yes. Oh God. Oh man.
Uh, isn't that
Jesus.
great? How many past Chicago Bears can you say? How many Bears coaches can you say looked like they were passing a kidney stone after a win? Maybe Ditka,
Didka.
because you had a straight face from Lovie Smith, a straight face from Mark Trestman, a straight face from John Fox, a
The
befuddled
lovey
and
face.
angry face from Matt Nagy, and a dour face from Matt Eberflus.
Lovey always had the face of I'm gonna be very descriptive here, and it's you're gonna be think you're gonna laugh at first, and then you're gonna stop and think about it and go, yeah, that's really right. Is when there's a little kid and you go, you see them standing in the corner, you're like, are you pooping? And they say no, and you know they're pooping. That is the Lovey face. That's the face that Lovey always makes. Lovey, are you pooping? No.
I hate how accurate that is, and now I'm never gonna not think about that again.
Ben Johnson passing his kidney stone. Lovey, are you pooping? No. Uh,
Two quite extremes there. Congratulations on your win.
Uh, do you remember a guy that used to play for the Yankees named Hideki Matsui?
Oh yeah, Godzilla, of course.
It was you looking at his face, you couldn't just tell if he just went 4 for 4 with 4 home runs in a hit a walk-off grand slam in game 7 of the World Series, or if his mother just died of cancer. You could not tell by his face, just that blank expression.
Oh yeah, I mean he won World Series MVP in 2009. I don't know if you remember him going off against the Phillies that year, but yeah, he was a hell of a ball player, and you're right. It's kind of like when I laugh at Kyle Hendricks, where no matter what happens, he just has that straight face.
Yes.
Some people just are not expressive, whereas Ben Johnson is pissed off and intense 24/7, and it's great.
Oh my God. I'm just imagining like his kids like soccer games and stuff. He's just there with that face on the sideline.
The other parents
I
just know not to bother him.
Oh my God, can you imagine his kids coming home from school with a bad test grade? And they're like, Dad, don't get upset. I need you to sign this. And then he just makes the face.
I like to think he'll give his kids coachly motivation like speeches to them as well,
Oh,
with the
Mom,
passing kidney stone face.
Mom, can you sign this test? Why didn't you ask your father? I think you know why. I think we all know why. I can't see that face. Oh my God.
That's funny. Yeah, I haven't had a
Uh,
chance to digest a lot of the post game stuff yet, but I'm going to, and I'm gonna go ahead listen to some of the audio, because all I've seen are the screen caps and the videos without the audio. So literally, as we're talking, I'm going through some of the post game stuff, and I just see that Ben Johnson picture. I just can't stop laughing.
that's a man who just won by 3 scores. And
Well,
that's
and
the
that's
face.
that's kind of what you wanted to see when you hired him. Like you never want him to be 100% satisfied. You got to identify the goods and the bads. And I mean, for a good example here is I think it was like Caleb's final throw of the game. He missed, he kind of spiked it in the ground and they showed the sideline. And I thought that like Ben Johnson wanted to like bite his head off like a T-Rex.
Uh, it's so funny. Ben Johnson, man. Like I thought Mike Vrabel would be the more intense coach. I'm like, I didn't say Ben Johnson be like a cupcake, but man, I think Mike Vrabel might be the more calm one of the two.
But again, it's like there's the screaming meatball Ditka type stuff, and there's the intense. I think they're very different, right? Like it's like there's just incoherent yelling and slamming of things and throwing of chairs and water bottles and Gatorade coolers and headsets. Whereas like with Ben Johnson, it's just gonna be that look, that pissed off, disgusted, vile look. But it's just as, if not more intimidating, because you know that, hey, listen, if you have someone who's just going apeshit and throwing things, yeah, it might be a bit dangerous, not thinking clearly, but you know that when Ben Johnson, he's going to give you the business, and you know that you're going to want to listen because he's going to be telling you things that you definitely know you should have known or should have done, and it's going to make you feel stupid.
True, true. And I love that Caleb talks about like he's like, yeah, he coaches me hard, and he recognizes that Ben Johnson's coaching his quarterback the hardest out of anybody because if they see the star quarterback is getting that treatment, everybody has a high expectation and that anybody can get it. And so it's great to see and it's good to see Caleb seeming to grow from it and not shrink away. He's getting better. And I don't like, last week the team stunk. There were things that Caleb did better. And this week has probably been his best game of his
Yes.
career. And it's funny, they were like, they should have won week one. They didn't. But Caleb, that was his worst game of the season. I think he was a little better
And
last
it
week.
was
Even
bad. It was a bad game.
last week, he was better, even though the team was worse. And this week was his best. And I'm hoping that continues on. Um, let's next week, they they've got a game that's very winnable. And not saying it's a cakewalk. There's very Saints might be the only cakewalk in the NFL.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, you've got the Raiders, and then you got a bye week. So you got one more game. You should get Kyler Gordon back. You should get TJ Edwards back. You should get Austin Booker back and your bye week and have 2 weeks to prepare for the Washington Commanders.
That's going to be a
If
big game,
you can, if you can win against the Raiders,
potentially.
if you win against the Raiders, which is doable, you go into that bye 2-2. It's going to be interesting because over the last however many years, the Bears have stunk coming out of a bye week.
Yeah, that's tradition like
I
no other.
don't think Ben Johnson's going to come out of that bye week unprepared. I don't know if they beat the Commanders. I think the Commanders are a really good team, and not just because of Jaden Daniels. And who knows? We'll see if he's back. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is how bad is this
I don't know. I
injury?
don't think we've gotten the full story. Um, but even if he's not back, they were really good today. But if you can get that victory, again, it's a big if. At that point, you are 3-2 going against the Saints. Um, there's a lot of ifs there. But the fact that Caleb and the offense had their best game so far is good.
It is good. It feels good. And hopefully that builds more
And God,
confidence.
I hope Joe Burrow is still out when the Bears play the Bengals.
I
He
he's going to be.
Did you see how bad the Bengals were today?
Oh, awful.
They
Awful
were
doesn't even
awful.
describe it.
They were awful. They
That
were
team without Joe
terrible.
Burrow, that's rough.
Like their backup stinks. Um,
Wonder if they try to make a deal for somebody. Somebody's at least a little better. I don't know. They got to be evaluating that, right?
they said they weren't, but I think after this game,
Uh,
they've got to be changing their
uh,
mind. They've
I
got to be
mean,
changing their mind.
it's one thing to lose, and it's one thing to lose bad, but like that wasn't even, that looked like a JV team taking on the Pee Wee freshmen.
That's one of those games where I get annoyed that the referees don't just swallow their whistles. Is just help them out. Just help them out. They're not going to win this game. It's not going to be close. Just if there's a don't call anything ticky unless it's blatant. Just don't call it on the Bengals because they're bad. Um, but God, I'm still dreading that Eagles Packers back to back weeks.
It's, yeah. That's a ways away though.
That's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so it's over a month.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last three games of the season: Packers, 49ers, Lions.
No. Yeah, we got to get there first. I mean, I
You got to stack some of these wins here.
we've won one game. You do that. Let me get
You,
my abacus out.
let me get my abacus out. Let me get my math sheet here and my purple crayon and start doing some arithmetic.
2 plus 2 is 4. So
Uh,
yeah, it's the truth about the NFL is what do we know about the NFL? One game at a time.
One game at a time, but still, even best case scenario, there's six guaranteed losses on this schedule. Still,
Oh, I mean, most likely,
Uh,
yes.
Ravens, Eagles, Packers twice, 49ers, Lions.
I mean, I'm not saying we're going to beat the Packers, but they just lost to the Browns.
Did you watch that game?
Yeah, I will say
They're
though is I Cleveland's defense is legit.
they are legit, but that team had no business winning that game. And did you see how many field goal
No,
blocks
no,
there were this week?
tons of them. Like, what's going
Yeah.
on?
I mean, the Jets almost won on a blocked field goal. And as cool as it was to watch their defensive end pick it up and run for a touchdown, he should have fallen down at like the 1 yard line
Yep,
so they could have run clock out and got the touchdown. They really should have done that. Um,
yep, yep, yep.
like he kind of almost won them the game, but lost them the game. Uh, the Packers had a field goal blocked. I think they had two. Um, the Eagles won on a blocked field goal, which the Eagles were offsides on that and didn't get called. The Eagles were offside on a tush push.
Yep.
That wasn't called either.
There's a lot of controversy over that. A
Yeah.
lot of controversy.
It's the Eagles are a really good team. Why are they getting like favorable calls? That's bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshitsky. Um, do you want to talk about White Sox? I don't know what else to say about that team. They had a path to not losing 100 games, and that path is gone.
Yeah.
They
I don't, yeah. It's all about the offseason at this point. Get your last at bats in for the young guys. You know, Kyle Teal's still looking pretty good. But yeah, no, I'm with you.
yeah, they're at what 98 losses with 6 games left. And they got to play the Yankees. Um, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose 100 games, and for however many years in a row. And they officially retained the worst record ever because um, Colorado won enough games.
Uh-huh. Which Colorado had fans holding a banner up. I don't know if you
What
saw
was that?
that. The Colorado fans were holding up a banner, not the worst team ever.
I, I mean, that's funny. uh, but yeah, so the White Sox have three against the Yankees and then three against the Nationals. Nationals are not very good. The Yankees are pretty darn good. And I know the White Sox have done well against them, but even if they win both of those series 2-1, they're going to be at 100 losses. They would have to, they've got to sweep. They got to win against the Yankees and sweep the Nationals. And that's a tough ask.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough ask. Yeah.
Um, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, not really, but I will say this as a note for as we go forward. We're getting ready to ramp up for some Blackhawks hockey here, and we're seeing the prospects come in, and hopefully we see a better year, and hopefully we see more from some of these young kids because you're going to be seeing more of them this
Yeah, I
year.
mean that's the hope.
Uh, uh,
We're starting to see some extensions happen. Um, and we had a goalie go down, or I mean, go down. Stayed down with an injury. He's going to be out for a good while. Um, which I guess doesn't really matter. Uh,
was it?
so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Spencer Knight got his bag.
Spencer Knight got his bag, and he's I think the one we were hopeful for. Brassois is the guy that's going to be the one that helps us get to the floor. So if he's out, he's out. Um, and now the question is, does Bedard get his extension?
Well, that's the one that's looming over. He says he's not worried about it, and I think he will. I'm going to be optimistic and say he will. They'll
I,
figure it out.
they'll figure it out, I think. Wyatt Kaiser got one. Um, going into this training camp, I don't know how many spots are really up for grabs. I think people are kind of locked in at this point. Um, your
Yeah,
defenseman,
Bedard's the
the
big one that's left.
no, but I'm saying well, in training camp is who's like positions of who's going to make this roster. Like
Oh,
there's
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think we have a good idea of who it's going to be. Like we know who the defensemen are, we know who the goalies are, we know for the most part who the forwards are. There's like, one, two, maybe three spots that are up for grabs. Like this isn't a wild card anymore. Like we're starting to see who these young players are rising to the top and who's not ready yet. So even though the Blackhawks didn't make any splashy moves, I think we're starting to fill out this roster pretty nicely.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the potential of some of this more young talent. And I'm hoping that we see a big leap from Bedard this year. And you'll have more Frank Nazar. You'll hopefully be able to build a bit more of a chemistry. And I do think that Jeff Blashill is going to bring a bit more of a, how do I say it? I don't want to say that the previous regime didn't care, but I feel like they were too careless. The team was with some of the fundamentals on the ice. It's one thing to lose because of pure lack of talent, but I felt like towards the end of the Luke Richardson era, the fundamentals just got worse and worse, and they didn't. It's hard to improve under an interim when you had Sorensen, but I want to see a more fundamentally sound team, and I think Jeff focused a lot on that.
I want to see death by snoo snoo. Sorry,
Okay,
I
sure.
just watched. Did you ever watch Futurama?
Yes.
There was an episode with these Amazonian women and they played basketball and the uh Bender and I can't remember the other guy's name. They were like tied up and they were held captive and the women basketball players weren't dunking it and they're like well, we play good fundamentals. And they're just cracking up. And that's all I can think of when you were saying that is with fundamentals is it goes back to the death by snoo snoo line. I want to go back and
Fair
watch that
enough.
episode tonight. Death by snoo snoo. Uh, the mind is willing. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope, I think I've said my piece.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, with iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends, how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or Swerski_Sports_podcast on Instagram, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter/X, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you.
What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win.
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down, I wanna